is the Herdline News.
Well, as Tony just mentioned there, the Bucs are signing Antonio Brown to a one-year deal. This reunites Brady and Antonio Brown after his short stint with New England last season. But Bruce Arians says Brady did not influence the Bucs' decision to bring in AB.
Everybody wants to say that Tom picked him. Tom didn't have anything to do with it. This was something Jason and I have been talking for a couple of weeks, ever since the injuries to our other guys. And when the time was right, would we see if we could pull the trigger and fit it into what we want to get done? And we'll see. I mean, we have nothing. If Antonio does what I think he's going to do, he's going to be fine.
Look,
I'm interested.
all due respect.
If everybody gets healthy, what happens when Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are healthy, and you have Antonio Brown, and you have Gronk, and you have Scotty Miller?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's
Somebody's not going to
a
catch.
very valid question. There's not enough plays to go around. But, I mean, come on. You didn't talk to Tom Brady, who clearly has a relationship with Antonio Brown. Look, I'm just saying I'm not buying 100% of what was just said. Like, Tom Brady clearly knew about this and obviously had input. He is the quarterback of Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and it's Tom Brady.
Well, remember when Antonio Brown went to New England, there was a story, I think we reported it. Tom was upset they let him go so quick in New England because Tom had all these other receivers. Like, he's the one guy that can separate on the roster.
Well, also, after, Arians was asked about bringing Antonio Brown in, and he said it's not going to happen. I just know him, and it's not a good fit in our locker room. He was the Steelers' offensive coordinator from 2010 and 11 with Antonio Brown. He also, according to Jay Glazer, Arians told Antonio Brown that he needed to be a team player or be gone.
I like to set the boundaries. I like that.
I mean, it has to be a zero-tolerance situation with Antonio Brown.
It's just going to be really interesting because everybody's been banged up. Well, if Mike Evans and Chris Godwin get healthy, Scotty Miller and Antonio Brown, and remember, I still contend Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones, this could be a power running team. Does not need to be an aerial circus. It doesn't.
I understand the move from the perspective that Arians was talking about with the injuries that they have. But to your point, when everyone gets healthy,
what becomes of guys
and
want the
Antonio
ball?
Brown is used to being the number one receiver, not just on a team, like in the league.
I will say this. You and I, we always say we're in the interesting business. I am fascinated to watch it.
Me too.
I think it feels like now with beat up receivers it would work. By the way, Tyler Johnson is not AB, but he's emerging. So like they've just got a lot of weapons. At some point they're going to be all healthy. I just hope AB's okay with a 2-catch game because that's going to be the reality for all these guys.
Well, if he's not, they cut him. If he ends up being a problem, then you have to cut him. And the excuse is we had a lot of injuries. We wanted to bring him in because of that, and we needed reinforcements and told him that he needed to be a team guy. And if he's not, then he's gone. I don't think you're going to suffer through a locker room meltdown with Antonio Brown.
Right.
What's the value there? There's none.
Yeah.
They have too many weapons, to your point. So I think it's an interesting experiment. I don't know how it's all going to work out. But like I said, and you said, it's interesting. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens. But I don't know. But I have to guess that Tom Brady played a small role.
Yes.
In Antonio Brown.
Fairly small role.
Being in Tampa Bay. Justin Herbert had a big day in the Chargers' 39-29 win over the Jaguars. He threw for 347 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Look at this. Look at this. Joy, that's a 50-yard throw. Nobody watched this game. That ball's 40 yards in the air. Flick of the wrist.
No, he's the future.
God,
They made the right choice.
You know what? This goes back to one of those things. We judged him because we didn't like his college offense. It's not him. It was the college offense, which was way too conservative.
I wasn't sold, and we've talked about this a lot. I wasn't sold on him until the bowl game.
We both said in the Rose Bowl, it's like, folks, when Oregon just said, let him play, take the game over. He reminds me of Trevor Lawrence. It's the same. Good student, good kid, big, strong arm, can run. Look at this throw, though.
He led the team in rushing with 66 yards and a rushing touchdown.
That ball travels 38 yards in the air. It is a flick of the wrist.
With this performance on Sunday, Herbert joined Patrick Mahomes as the only 2 quarterbacks in NFL history to pass for at least 250 yards in each of their first 5 stats.
So what did we learn from Justin Herbert? What did we learn? We learned that sometimes the college offense can limit the quarterback, that if it's a very strong-willed run coach, that it absolutely limits what a quarterback can do. So you have to watch that. Like for years and years, Big 12 quarterbacks didn't work in the NFL because the offenses were too shticky. Well, now the NFL does more spread, so the offensive Big 12 quarterbacks, they actually work in the NFL. But the Oregon thing was, everybody kept saying the same thing. He looks very rigid at Oregon. It's like, no, it wasn't the player, it was the offense.
What I look for is consistency, obviously, at the quarterback position. But what I really pay attention to is, what do you do in the biggest games with the biggest stakes?
Great point.
And do you make plays yourself? Like, obviously, all of these top quarterbacks are going to have playmakers around them. Like, that was a big knock on Joe Burrow. He has so much NFL talent around him. So did Tua. Like, all of these guys are playing with top-level receivers and weapons. But do you make plays yourself? Do you make plays with your legs? Are you moving out of the pocket? Are you able to make things happen in big moments? Because to me, that's what the NFL is. Of course, you're going to need to be consistent. It's going to be a step up in speed and responsibility and pressure, but do you have it in you to make a big play?
Well, it's the other thing about learning stuff. Like, I didn't love that Joe Burrow transferred from Ohio State to LSU. I said, if you're great, then why do you have to transfer? Because you couldn't get out J.T. Barrett. But Justin Fields transferred from Georgia to Ohio State, and I look at it differently now. I'm like, okay, I got Joe Burrow. I was too critical on the transfer. Justin Fields, now I watched him Saturday, and he's lost weight, and they're asking him now just to throw the ball more. Like, you just learn stuff in this process of judging quarterbacks. So the transfer, I was always kind of negative on, well, why, if you're so great, if you're Peyton Manning, why are you transferring?
Well, yeah, and also, things are political. Right?
That's
like certain coaches get attached to have loyalties to certain guys, and maybe they are equal at that point in their college careers, and the coach goes with the guy who feels like knows the system more, or there's more comfortable, or they don't like an injury that the other player had. Why should that player sit there and waste the final years of his college career if another big school wants to get an opportunity to be the starter?
North Carolina State's coach bailed on Russell Wilson. His last year said, I'm not going to go with you. So he went to Wisconsin and was literally 33 touchdowns, 7 picks, Rose Bowl. It happens. Yeah. Like, a coach has a style or an offense, and you don't fit it, and we're moving on.
And especially in college, you have such a limited window to make it happen and showcase what you can do possibly in the league. So there's a million reasons why kids transfer. Finally, Khabib defended his belt in UFC 254 this weekend. He defeated Justin Gaethje by technical submission with a triangle choke in the second round to retain the lightweight championship. It was his 29th victory to remain undefeated in his career. And after the fight, he made a surprise announcement that he is retiring from UFC. He said he did not want to fight without his father, who passed away in July from COVID-19 complications. He said he promised his mother this would be his last fight, so he has retired from UFC.
He's the greatest fighter ever. In fact, I was watching it and reading this weekend. Some are saying he was never hurt in a fight.
Well,
never
Dana
bloodied.
White revealed post-fight press conference that Khabib broke his foot 3 weeks before the fight and still fought and still won.
If you go back, I watched probably 6 of his fights, and it's fascinating. I love Justin Gaethje. He just choked him out this weekend. I'm not sure, was he ever bloodied in a fight? I mean, he took Conor McGregor apart. I don't know if he was ever bloodied in a single. Ali lost multiple times. John Jones, who I thought was the single most talented UFC fighter I'd ever seen. But, I mean, I don't even know who's the second best fighter in that sport. You could argue on 6 guys. He is so far and away the best fighter ever in UFC.
He's had a spectacular career. It's unfortunate that it's ending when it is, but, this is...
You know what? And on top.
And on top, and this is something that he feels compelled about. He's a very convictional individual, so I don't know if that's a word. He's a very convicted individual.
I was okay with it. I felt comfortable with the use of it.
Did you feel okay with it? I'm pretty sure it's not a word. So.
You were close enough that I knew exactly what you meant.
You knew what I meant.
Yes, we're doing live TV. It happens. Joy Taylor with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Live
It's
News.
called the 3-word game. You can describe succinctly every NFL game in just 3 words. I love this game. Coming up. Some days you want to go for a drive, but you've probably never considered going for a 16,000-mile drive from Alaska to Argentina, several continents. But that's what Rainier Zietlow did. He set a world record, tundra, desert, rain, sleet. And he used the Michelin Endurance XT silicone wiper blades. They use Quad-Tech 4-layer coated silicone, 4 layers and why? Because it repelled that snow and ice and hail and water and lasts 2 times longer than other blades. It's available only at Walmart. Listen, new blades make a big difference. It's October, getting close to November. Snowing in the mountain towns now. getting wet in the Midwest. This is the time to get them done before it's too late and you end up in a storm with lousy wiper blades. The new Michelin Endurance XT silicone wiper blades. Quad-Tech 4-layer coated silicone that repels all the bad water, all the bad weather you'll face.